Hi everyone, welcome back to Falcon's House. This is the Lost Watch vlog. Today I am covering Season 3, Episodes 20 and 21, and I will be using edited Wikipedia sections for the recap again. John Locke arrives at the others' camp, carrying his father's body, and demands that Ben tell him everything about the island. Ben tells him that the true leader of the others is named Jacob, and denies Locke's request to see him. Soon after, Mikhail stumbles into the camp and talks about a parachutist who landed on the island, Naomi. To convince Ben to bring him before Jacob, Locke beats Mikhail unconscious, while Tom and Richard do nothing to stop him. I'm really curious about Jacob. He has been mentioned previously, and he was able to cure Juliet's sister's cancer. So he seems like he's some sort of god or powerful being. He's not just like some random human. And there's more going on here than they've seemed to have hinted at previously. Like, they've said the name Jacob before, but they haven't really explained anything. And they still haven't really explained anything. But we're slowly getting there to knowing that there's somebody above Ben who runs the others. In the flashbacks, Emily Linus gives birth to her son in a forest. Afterwards, her husband Roger carries her and the baby to the roadside outside of Portland, where a car carrying Horace and Olivia soon stop to help them. Emily dies after telling Roger to name the baby Benjamin. They really did a good job with this scene where they made it seem like it was on the island and then it wasn't. Now, I've started to get a little bit wary of anything they show that doesn't seem to make sense. So, I did kind of fall for it and was wondering, well, was Ben actually born on the island? And that's why he's the leader of the others? But it seemed a little bit suspicious and a little bit too easy, especially since we've gone through this whole thing where babies can't be conceived and born on the island. So, who knows? 7 years later, Ben and his father arrive on the island to work for the Dharma Initiative, of which Horace is a member. At one point, Ben sees a vision of his dead mother. This, along with his drunken father blaming him for his mother's death, causes Ben to sneak into the jungle to look for her. He encounters Richard Alpert, one of the hostiles who are native to the island. And obviously Richard, in the future, has been an other, so we know about that. And Richard doesn't seem to be any older in the future timeline than in the past. It seems like he doesn't age at all. Ben tells Richard that he wants to join the hostiles and he doesn't like Dharma. Richard tells Ben that if it is what he truly wants, then he must be patient and wait for his time to come. Years later, Ben, now a young man, works for Dharma and helps his father load a van. After confronting his father about forgetting his birthday again, Roger suggests that they go for a drive together after their work is done. After parking atop a hill, Ben asks his father if he blamed him for the death of his mother. Roger simply answers, "What do I know?" and promises to try to remember Ben's birthday the following year. But Ben is fed up after years of neglect and abuse and pulls out a gas mask and bids his father goodbye before filling the van with gas that kills Roger. Ben returns to the barracks, where all of the Dharma workers have died from the same gas, and Alpert and his men emerge wearing gas masks. As Alpert's men start picking up the bodies, Alpert offers to go and collect Roger, but Ben tells him to leave him out there in the van that Hurley had found later. I was happy with this backstory. It gives real insight to why Ben has turned out the way he did. like he's cold and unforgiving and sneaky, and it makes sense that he had an abusive father, and it caused him to be like this. So I really did like this backstory. It fit the character very, very well. Back on the island, Ben and Locke arrive at Jacob's cabin. They enter, but Locke cannot see anyone inside. Ben introduces Locke to Jacob and gestures towards an empty chair, to which he starts talking. Locke tells Ben that he is crazy and pathetic. Just as Locke is about to exit the house, an odd and deep voice says, "Help me." Locke pulls out a flashlight, and suddenly objects in the room begin to fly violently about. Windows shatter, and Ben is flung against the wall. A strange man is briefly seen sitting in a chair. Locke and Ben run out of the house. The following day, Locke still does not believe Jacob is real, and says he will expose Ben as a fraud. Locke notices that Ben is leading them back by a different path, and Ben says that he will lead him to a mass grave full of skeletons, clothed in Dharma uniform. Ben tells Locke that he helped kill his own people when it became clear that the Dharma workers could not coexist with the natives. And then he shoots Locke, who falls into the pit. Locke reveals Jacob said, "Help me," and Ben replies that he certainly hopes Jacob helps him as he departs, leaving Locke for dead. This is such a crazy ending, with Locke getting shot. Ben seems to be afraid of Locke, and that he is challenging Ben. And this was probably a smart move by Ben to protect himself and to protect what he thinks that the others should be, to protect his leadership there. Locke definitely seems interested in taking over or being in control. However, it does seem like Jacob is real based on what happened in the cabin. Even if Ben is not able to see it, Locke seems to be able to be. And so Locke knows that he has to be able to do something in order to help survive and to has his purpose on the island. At the survivors' camp, Sawyer plans to play Juliet's tape for Saeed and Kate. Later that night, the survivors are introduced to Naomi, and the tape is played for all to hear. Just then, Jack and Juliet return to the camp. Juliet tells Sawyer to play the other side of the tape, which is Ben's plan to lead the team to kidnap all the fertile women. Juliet reveals that she has already told Jack about it, and are still thinking of a plan. I'm not sure that I trust Juliet at all, but she says and does the right things at the right time. So either she's just as good of a manipulator as Locke and Ben, or she is telling the truth and she is a good person, and she isn't really working for Ben. She just does what she has to do. I mean, she did try to kill him, I guess, unless that was all some sort of plot. So I kind of have to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, at this point, just keep an eye on her, but don't, outright treat her like a criminal. Ben orders 10 others to go to survivors' camp and kidnap any pregnant women that night, a night earlier than that was scheduled. Ben's adopted daughter Alex is persuaded by her boyfriend Carl to canoe to the survivors' beach to warn them. Jack plans on killing the ambushing survivors with dynamite retrieved by Rousseau. Saeed, Jin, and Bernard are selected to stay behind and shoot the dynamite-rigged tents when the others arrive. I guess that is as good as a plan they could have come up with, and at least they'll do something other than just run. Desmond tells Charlie about his latest premonition. Claire and Aaron will escape the island via helicopter if Charlie flips a switch in a Dharma station and drowns. Saeed tells Jack that he may be able to communicate with the freighter roughly 130 kilometers offshore. He can use the satellite phone of Naomi, and he can, once he goes to the radio tower, to disable Rousseau's distress signal. Juliet informs Saeed that this will not work because the underwater looking glass is blocking outgoing transmissions. Saeed realizes the cable he found 70 days earlier connects to the station, and they'll need somebody to go on a probable suicide mission, and Charlie volunteers. Naomi tells Charlie that his band Drive Shaft released a successful greatest hits album after the crash of Flight 815. Flashbacks show Charlie's greatest hits of his life, referring to his life's 5 best moments. In descending order, Charlie writes them down on a note. The first time that he heard his band's breakout song on the radio. When his father Simon taught him how to swim. The time when his brother Liam gave him his grandfather Dexter's DS ring, which is what Drive Shaft is named after. The ring was a family heirloom and was passed down to the firstborn child, but Liam thought he was a mess and thought that Charlie was more deserving of it. When Charlie saved a woman, Nadia, who turns out to be Saeed's person that he's been looking for, and he had saved her from a mugging. Another pre-island connection. The night following the crash, when he then first met Claire. Before paddling out to the looking glass with Desmond, Charlie assures Claire that he will be fine, kisses her goodbye, and leaves his ring in Aaron's crib. I think they are foreshadowing his death pretty heavily, this will actually happen. They gave him a whole episode about his greatest moments, and we learn about his past. I still don't really like Charlie, though, and I still think he's a little bit of a creeper, and he's done some bad things, and I don't know if this really is going to change anything. Once Desmond and Charlie arrive over at the station, Charlie gives Desmond his note and asks him to give it to Claire. Desmond offers to do the job instead, suspecting that his flashes are recommending him to take Charlie's place. To keep him from doing so, Charlie knocks Desmond out with an oar and dives into the water. Upon entering the station, 2 others named Greta and Bonnie appear with guns aimed at Charlie. I think that Charlie entered fairly poorly. He should have assumed there were people down there and snuck around more to get captured instead of coming up and start gasping for air because it was such a far swim. I mean, you're going to have to get some air, but try to be quiet and try to be stealthy and make sure that you're alone before you do anything, because otherwise, just what happened? You're going to get captured. But at least for once, he's doing something that isn't selfish and is trying to help the group. Though it really is just mostly Claire, and it's still this blind love for Claire that his obsession is causing him to do. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and share with other Lost fans.